Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Welcome, welcome. Microphone check. Screen check. Looks like everything is working correctly here, yeah. Good morning. Hey, Brad, how's it going? Steven, everybody else so far? Good morning, good morning. Welcome. Hopefully everyone's all rested up. Get ready and ready to rock and roll for the day ahead and all that fun stuff. Of course, make sure to, as per the usual, read through the Live Trader Morning Prep PDF on the right side of the screen there. Very important to go through and understand everything that is inside of there. And then I just want to take a second, like we do every day, to thank all of our new members, subscribers, Academy students, VIPs, and everyone in between. Welcome to the SSFTG family. I'm super excited to have you all on board. If you aren't part of the fam yet, there are a ton of different ways to join up. The easiest way is to join as a YouTube member with the join button below the stream there. Gets you in the Discord chat room and the YouTube community board and stock and crypto chart posts and all that fun stuff, and just a bit more behind the scenes and what's going on. Of course, if you want to understand how we do everything and our approach and trading and all of that fun stuff, check out the Day Trading Academy and VIP memberships and all that fun stuff, all waiting for you over at ssftg.com. So whether you're here for the first time or the 1,000th, good morning and welcome. I hope you're all ready to rock and roll alongside me today as we analyze some charts, take a look at some news and all that fun stuff. Of course, today is Wednesday, so that does mean that we've got crude oil inventories and all that fun stuff. But before we get to that, don't forget to grab your morning DP levels. Those are posted for you on the Major 7 every single morning. Nasdaq has a big old crude euro Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ooh, surprise run there. They're all waiting for you. We got plenty of overall movement, generally speaking, but across the board, it's kind of calm and quiet. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Looking at the news calendar, I mean, there's a ton of stuff going on today. The news calendar, yesterday was like nothing was happening. Today, it is absolutely slam-packed full. And man, there's a huge amount of news going on today. The ADP non-farm came out earlier this morning at 8:15. At 8:30, we have the trade balances for September. 9:45, the market composite PMI, as well as the services PMI. 10 o'clock is factory orders for September, as well as the ISM non-manufacturing employment and the ISM non-manufacturing PMI for October. 10:30 is crude oil inventories. And then we go into the afternoon, which is FOMC. It just doesn't get better all day. We've got FOMC later today at 1400. That's 2 p.m. Eastern. Then at 1430, the FOMC press conference kicks off after that. Tons and tons of stuff going on today. Looking at the crude oil inventories and the next news announcement at 10 o'clock. After that, crude oil inventories forecast is 2.225 million. If we look at yesterday's API report, which is usually a pretty good heads up as to what to expect, the forecast is 1.56. Today they're forecasting 2.22, so a little bit lower. And the number came out at 3.59. So they were forecasting a little bit less, and it came out at about twice as much, a little over. So we're forecasting a little bit more, and it'll probably come out at about twice as much. So we're expecting to see around a 4 to 4.4 million in terms of the crude oil inventories. It's going to be bearish, but kind of expectedly bearish. And then, of course, FOMCs, who knows? that one's always a little bit of a crapshoot. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's really bad. I'll have to wait and see. Starting off on the Nasdaq and kicking it off from there, looking at the bullish continuation, which is still grinding its way higher and hasn't stopped. Unbelievable. It also hasn't reached out to 16,000, which is kind of surprising. I would have thought it would have done that already. We've got some really, really good bullish momentum to the upside. The market's continuing higher. We've got good channel support. And like we've been talking about for a while, it's in desperate need of a pullback, but that doesn't necessarily stop it. It keeps going up. So with the overall move here, I guess the channel would play out to be... I still really don't like that channel. I like that so much more. We'll go with that for right now, but we've obviously got a channel, and one thing that is very obvious since then, we've also got an ascending wedge. That ascending wedge has not broken out of itself yet, and we are getting close to the completion point. If you're unfamiliar with the way that wedges work, typically wedges complete themselves in about 60 to 70% towards the completion. That means that if you were to draw a wedge, considering this being 100% completion where the cross happens, By the time you get to about 60 to 70%, usually the wedge is beginning to start to break away. Under normal circumstances. It's not always the case, but that's usually the case, and we're right around there. It's right around in that area. We are seeing also weakness on the highs. It's having a difficult time breaking above the top. It would make a lot of sense for this to get a deeper pullback. It really would. That's one of the biggest things that stands out that hasn't happened yet. Major low? Nope. Major low? Nope. Nope. No break. No break. Nope. All the way up. Not a single break of any of these major lows. And the last time there was, well, I mean, we can see what the response was. So, I mean, really, pretty obvious that the bulls are intent on grinding this thing to the upside. It's just a matter of where they want to do it from. To me, I like this as a potential pullback area for a higher low in a spike in channel mentality, although it's a wedge. The spike in channel mentality meaning dipping back down to the completionary point, or where the channel starts, in this case the wedge starts. And it'd be down at those lows at around 760s-ish, right? Yeah, 760s, 770s, in that area. That would be the zone of interest for the bulls to get a dip back. If we look at where it is currently under normal circumstance, that would be a dive down to about a negative half DP, right down into that previous structural support. And if we go back to that low that happened before then, all the way up to the current high, ooh, man, that... Oh no, we've got ourselves some top-weighted POC volume. Yikes. Squeeze City. It's still squeezing, too. Doesn't look like it's stopping. If they can get a pullback. He says as he... And I mean, look at the S&P. Pullback? What's a pullback? What is that? It hasn't stopped going higher. It's grinding up and up and up and up and up. Once again, we've got a settlement all the way at the highs, but this chart looks like it's broken. Like, it looks like there's a data feed problem. This is what a chart looks like when you accidentally put it on logarithmic, you know? It's just gone, it's gone too far. It's stretched out too far. Actually, chances are, if we put this on logarithmic, it might actually make it look a little better. It hasn't gone that far. But either way, this thing has got some serious stretch to the upside. I mean, if we're looking at like the 60-minute perspective and we're zooming out a little bit further, we can see that this is still inside of wave 3 to the upside. They're trying to grind that move higher. I mean, this thing is begging for a correction. It just hasn't happened yet. And we know why. I mean, we've been talking about this on the Nasdaq and the S&P. The shorts are getting squeezed. They're getting sent straight through the juicer. That's what all this is. Eventually, there will be a pullback. Is that going to happen today? I mean, maybe, but am I going to bet on it? No. not a chance. This thing just keeps going up. How's it going, laddie? Good morning. That retrace is missing in the ES. I mean, seriously. This thing just doesn't stop going up. Pullback? Correction? What? What's that? I mean, what a value pullback at this point would be like anything. Any pullback is value at this point. Again, if you zoom out to a 60-minute chart, it's pretty easy to find out where value would be. The last pullback of size was about 420 ticks or so. So if we're looking at equidistant pullback, 420 ticks, where would that put price? Right about 45.20. So if we look backward, does that put us into anything structurally interesting? Yeah, I think so. That's where those earlier longs got dumpstered on, right? Finally given a chance to get out of break even. Wait a minute. Nope, we've got a nice little rally up. What do you want to bet? We're hitting scalpers' objectives, and this is by far really far away from a scalp. But what do you want to bet? We're hitting scalpers' objectives from a POC that was formed up at the top here. Where was that POC up at the highs? I'm sure there's one up there, right? Switch this to minute. Yep, there it is. Whoop, there it is. All right, so the POC is right there. So what do you want to bet? If we go down to the lows and we measure this bad boy up, we're resting right around a scalper's target. Ooh, it's a little bit ahead. We've got a little bit more to go. The scalper's target of the entire move down is up at 46.45. I'm curious, is it the scalper's target from the initial one? Yeah. So the initial risk tolerance that they took doesn't look like they expanded it out. But, I mean, either way, we're hitting some seriously massive scalper's targets up here. And I use the word scalp real loose. Okay? I mean, this is very far from a scalp, but this is pure definition in terms of risk reward. A scalp, we've got a little further to go, 46.40s. Wow, wow, wee, wow. This thing's got a little more to go. How's it going, Ace? Good morning, good morning. From a value perspective, I mean, again, it puts it down in the 45.17s, but man, this thing just needs any pullback. Like anything would be okay. Gold is looking sharp and pointy as ever. Fantastic. It's coming right back into what it's been doing here. We've got a nice little jerk back to the downside. I mean, as it stands, right, this is a 60-minute chart, and this is almost not far enough back anymore. We're going to have to go out to like a 4-hour chart. I don't know if I have enough data on this. Yeah, we don't. Man, let's go back like 2 years. I think Ninja only allows up to 2 years. Yeah. So we've got to go way out there, but what are we coming off of, right? If we zoom out, and this is beyond like we're hanging out in the ozone right now. We vindictively trap the base right down there. So what would bulls be looking for if they were looking for a continuation back to the upside? Well, they would be likely looking for at least a confirmed swing, right? At least a confirmed swing high break. The last confirmed swing on a major perspective is up here. On a micro perspective, we've got there, which hasn't broken yet. So they don't have anything they need for a trend reversal. They need to break some of these highs. They're trying, but geez, that's brutal. Hey, Huber, how's it going? Good morning, good morning. Do you have your chart setup available? Yeah, the moving averages, if that's what you're referring to, in the MACDs at the bottom and all of that, that's all explained in the Academy, which is on SSFTG. But the important thing to note here is they're not proprietary indicators. I'm not into selling proprietary indicators. That's not my jam. Primarily, and actually these moving averages are derived off of literally random number generators that we were using to prove a point about a year ago. So the moving averages are literally just randomly generated from Google. It might actually even be over a year now. Has it been over a year? I don't know. It's been a minute. Either way, I mean, we randomly generated them, and the idea or the concept behind them is that an average is an average is an average. It literally doesn't matter which one you use. What we use instead, because of that fact, and that is a fact, is that we use a fast, a medium, and a slow. So, as far as the random gen moving averages, it's a 116, a 68, and a 34. That's what Google spit out at us when we told them to give us moving average numbers. So, again, you can use those numbers. You can use any other number that you want. It doesn't really matter. The important thing is that you understand that an average is an average is an average. The market will always look like it's supporting an average because it's an average. Use them for trend directional bias with a fast, a medium, and a slow, and you'll be all right. Hopefully that helps. But there's nothing special about them. It's just what Google told us to use. So, going across the board into crude oil. Again, we're expecting crude oil to be a little bit bearish. It already is bearish. The anticipation of the API versus the crude oil inventory numbers today, expecting to be around a 4 to 4.2 million build on crude. They're already bearish. It's already down here. I mean, if swings are looking for long side continuation, then really this is the swing spot, right? I mean, what's their risk? If they're entering here, the risk is down below the lows, but the reward is all the way back up to settlement. Might be a little bit sketch. You know, that's 2 to 1-ish. If they go a little bit further, 3 to 1s, that would be back up into the highs. Yeah, no problem. Not a problem. So, I mean, that's... Hang on one sec. I forgot to give you the MACD numbers, too. So there's a faster MACD and a slower MACD. The MACD is a 521.7 and a 2049. Again, those are just randomly generated numbers that are fast, medium, and slow. So it really doesn't make a huge difference there, but just so you have them, they're there. You'll find I have a very joking approach to indicators because they're all past information. And a lot of times when you know how they calculate, you don't really need them, but there you go. Crude oil, as far as a swing perspective goes, this is a really nice spot. If we could get a little bit better, a trap underneath this low is about the smallest risk that they could possibly ask for, and the reward is incredible. The probability of success is garbage. Like, there's no way that this is going to be more likely than 25% likelihood of success. in any realm of likelihood of common sense. So we have to look at that and say, well, if we know that there is no chance that this is going to ever be more than 25% likely, then we have to make sure that this is favorable from a math perspective. That's a 5 to 1, a 10 to 1, 13, 14. 14 puts it at settlement. I don't like that. I like 13. That's a good solid number. So we'll go with the 13 to 1. Okay. So let's say, as an example, let's say 20% likelihood of success. This trade works out one time out of 5. Okay. Right. So one time out of 5, we're looking at a 20% likelihood. So a 20% likelihood times 2860 versus the remainder, which is 80 times 220. 57,200 minus the losers. That looks like pretty positive math, if you ask me. Okay, well, if we know that even at 20% it's good, how about 15%? Right, 15 times versus the other, what would that be, 85 times? It's still good. So that's the kind of probability that you're looking for. Pure math game. Literally nothing else about it. It's a straight math shot. That's all it is. But hasn't stopped it before. So it's there, right? It's an area of interest for a 13 to 1 to the upside. On the euro, mostly sideways. They failed to make that new low. That's a massive problem for a lot of shorts. They really, really, really needed to make that new low, and they couldn't get the job done. That said, we haven't broken higher either. We're still stuck inside that overall move to the downside, so it's not really proving anything, right? We've got to give it a little bit more time. We need more proof. As it stands off of the base, I mean, this is predominantly just one giant range. The POC is basically smack in the middle. Makes sense. So we're going to have to wait for a little more. Bitcoin pulling in off of the highs after finally piercing above that 63 into the 64,000s. That's really what they needed to see to kind of prove that the bulls were trying to take over after that big trap that happened. After that rally higher, we're seeing a little bit of a pullback. That's fine. A lot of traders will be taking profit at the highs. The key is that bulls want to see more continuation. We're not out of the woods yet for a deeper correction. Very easily, it could slide back down to the 59,500s because traders will risk down to the lows for a very solid reward back up to the highs, at least 2 to 1, if not more. So buyers will definitely be buying on the dip, especially now that we have a confirmation with a break above that previous major swing. That's a lot of proof. So that's fantastic for the bulls. That's what they need. They probably don't want to buy way the heck up here, but at least it's on a short-term pullback, maybe a little ABCD correction down. I could see it, I guess. Over on Ethereum, we've got more continuation to the upside. Speaking of ABCDs, basically have one right there. It's got a little further to go to complete it up into the 4700s. Top-weighted POC, or settlement rather, up in the 4600s or close to. I mean, you know, here again, it looks like there's been very little pullback, and anytime that there's been close to a new low, which there hasn't been so far, it's just been a trap. The last major confirmed swing is back here. So if they're going to pull back to anywhere, right there's the hot spot. Take out all those juicy stops. Tasty. See if they can grab them. All right. take a look at, geez, there is not a whole lot of candles, huh? Wow. It is calm and quiet this morning. Jeez, that's not happy. Looking at the start of the day, oh man, that's ugly. We don't really have a whole lot of anything. Kind of started off with a cycle on the base. Nice bull cycle up, break, continuation for 2 legs up. That's about it. Man, this is a mess. This is nasty. I mean, as far as the overall rotation, the POC, there's not been very much going on. I mean, it's barely been trading. POC is currently at 978, but whenever we have a very quiet Euro session, that almost always means that the Open's going to be pretty friggin' volatile. Chances are we're going to have a lot of volatility at the Open, especially with FOMC around the corner. A lot of traders early in, early out. They're not going to want to deal with it. And I tell you what, this chart is definitely reflecting that. The 5-minute chart looks so much better. Total side difference. On the 5-minute chart, it actually looks like we have a chart. The tick chart was like non-existent. Yeah, not many candles on the chart, exactly. The 5-minute chart, it looks like we've actually got a market. It's just a big range, obviously, but the initial range base started down at the lows. Looks like they tried to get the range kind of solidified inside here. Broke out a little bit further. Did they deviate the range? Sure did. Did they deviate it again? Sure did. So they're just deviating the ranges to the upside. It's been a minute since we've been able to use something like that. That's S&P style measuring. The Nasdaq usually doesn't have... The Nasdaq usually has so much volatility that we don't have to worry about like the candle close and open and back and forth. Like this looks like an S&P chart. Well, either way, we have deviated ranges. See what they want to do with it, I guess. But man, what a mess. Barely any candles at the start of the day. Over on the S&P, predominantly sideways and effectively inside of yesterday's entire rally higher. After we broke above that giant bull bar launch, they came back and retested it, created a base point later on down here, which was more recently just trapped. So if the market is going to pull back, we don't really have a whole lot of defense anymore, but it's down here, 46.12 rather, down to like 8. That's the defense spot for the bulls on the S&P if it's not going to hold where it is now. So the buyers need to hold it where it is now, or we get a deeper pullback. Let me see what they want to do with it from there. Lower highs all the way across. They tried breaking above, but that failed. Tried breaking above, that failed. They tried breaking above, that failed. They're not exactly winning any fights, that's for sure. If we're looking at it from all of yesterday into today, effectively, because, well, technically yesterday wasn't even the start of a move. It was the day before. Whatever. We've got more continuation all the way up to where we are now. POC's up at the top. So sellers are trying to win some fights right now. What a mess. This thing needs a pullback. It needs a pullback so bad. And you can tell, I mean, look how little candles there are. Nobody wants to trade up here. Or if they do, they try to buy the dip, but man. I have a short bias this morning. It's clouding my judgment. Man, I'm with you. It's hard not to, you know, which makes me feel like it's probably going to go up 7 million ticks. But when the market is this far up, like, man, does this thing need a pullback? But it doesn't. So, well, guess it is what it is, right? Looking at the top 3 most voluminous today on crypto, Ethereum, Link, and Tezos. We've got Tezos back on the docket, XTZ. Get that bad boy over here. Whew, man alive. What does it look like on a 5-minute, though? Oofta. That thing got whacked off the top, jeez. pretty heavy bearish momentum coming into the downside. The markets are dipping a little bit, obviously, but those are the three most voluminous. If we're looking at golds, crude, and the euro. Let's see here. Is there really, I mean, is there anything of swing interest at all? The 15-minute chart on gold. Oh, man. They've got a ways to go, but down in the 1765.5s. If we're looking at it from a risk perspective, that area down there would place stops likely underneath that last low. Be about a 58-tick stop. In terms of upside momentum, back up to settlement, it fits a 3-to-1. Doubtable a 5, though. Yeah, 5 is way above it, but it does fit a 3-to-1 to the upside. So there is a 3-to-1 potential swing on gold back to the upside. Now it'd be right off of that -2 DP, off of the support zone. There's so much stuff down there. Does that mean that it has to turn around right there? Absolutely not. This is very much trying to catch a potentially sharp falling knife. You have to understand the risks when you're dealing with this. This type of thing could rip your face off if you don't know how to manage it properly. So, BTFD, but if you know what you're doing. As far as crude oil is concerned, I mean, we already kind of talked about that scalp area, right? I mean, that's that little dip underneath this base. The likelihood of that actually playing out is, again, it's absurdly low, but it's a 13-to-1. So, I mean, it's hard to not like that area, at least initially. We do have inventories. The inventories are anticipated to be bearish today, and the market has already been bearish. So assuming that it comes out in line, I think that the bearishness is already kind of done. They'll overextend themselves down into that zone, maybe a little bit further through, and then get the continuation bounce for a short-term correction. Not a reversal, a short-term correction back for a maybe lower high into those 8350s. Could take a while. So we'll see if they want to play ball. Pullback's underrated. Yeah, it's used. Why are we so bullish if retail is waiting for a pullback? So effectively, when I'm looking at this, I have to do what the chart is telling me to do, right? I know that retail is waiting for a pullback. Retail is almost never right. So that's why I'm so bullish. Because by the time retail does actually get their pullback, right, when they're looking for, and I'm talking like the you and I'm talking small traders, right, the little, not the JPs, not the big the Titanics. We're talking the small ones, right? When they finally do get their pullback with a runaway rally, what usually happens, right? We've been there a million times. We've seen it a million times. When you're in the runaway rally, it does this. It just keeps going and going and going. Everybody's waiting for the pullback. Never happens, right? So that's why I'm so aggressively bullish while it's going up, but I'm not aggressive in terms of size. Because eventually, we will get a deeper pullback. And a deeper pullback always goes way farther than people expect it to. They're expecting, in context, they'll expect an L1, or not even an L1, and it'll pull down to an L3. You know, like, whoa, what just happened? Well, if you're looking at it with common sense, if it's going screaming higher and it hasn't pulled back, while it's screaming higher, you got to hit the gas pedal. But when it does pull back, don't necessarily expect the first pullback to be the one. That's the one that everybody's trying to jump in on. They'll likely get steamrolled. That's where you'll hear me talking about, like yesterday, what's the most vindictive thing that can happen right now? Where are those stops of those buyers that bought in who think they're safe? Where did they put their stops? That's where JP's coming in. So while we're in this screaming tearaway bullish move to the upside, I have to be bullish. I don't have a choice. It's awkward buying way at the high every day, all day, constantly, but yesterday's all-time high was 5% ago, you know? It's just, this thing just doesn't stop going up. Got the open, which is having a little bit of a bullish pop back to the upside. Not really a whole lot of volume. I would love to see a quick little dip to the downside. Get a little flush underneath the low 70s in that area, that last zone. Nice little pulse for the bulls to try to catch this dip for a rally back up. It is flushing a little bit lower. Now they might try to grab that next dip underneath that next low, sub 60, what would that be, 67s? Next little trap flush. Pulse back up with a nice little base point to try to hold on to that continuation, pop back to the upside. See if they can follow through the 75s. This is the big spot right here. Beautiful pop back through. Up into the 80s. I'm going to drop there. Nice little pulse up into that original entry area, and I've only got that one last one. I'll accept that as a nice little run on the final portion. We got the dip at the open that I wanted, although it did dip a lot further than I thought it was going to, so I've got to treat it with some respect. This next dip lower, scalpers might re-up back into because of the liquidation of the previous. Gold couldn't quite reach down to those 65.5s. As far as the overall move is concerned, there still hasn't really been a whole lot that's happened. It's trying to figure out what it wants to do, but nice slide back to the downside. Yeah, and I think this is honestly due to the fact of the same reason why I was exiting. It slid further down than a lot of traders were expecting it to. Like, wait a minute, that's not the dip I wanted. Nice little flush down towards settlement. They do have that little vindictive trap underneath the base. Next little dip pop for the bulls to try to reach back into this move. Swept out just for the scalp. Yeah, I'm okay with the scalp. I'm not going to re-up into this. The bears seem like they're gaining a little bit of ground here. I still like these downside dips, but the sellers are putting in a heck of a lot of pressure right now. Okay, there we go. Jeez, it was getting hung up there. Yeah, it's still, see, it's getting hung up here real bad. The bulls got to get away from here. This is some murky water here. Okay, there we go. Well, I definitely had some warning alarms going off, and I got out because of it, but it turned out it was okay. It was definitely getting stuck, though. Now, a lot of the bulls that feel like the pressure's been taken off will look to re-up into this next dip on the scalp. The S&P is continuing up as well. S&P, big, strong bull bar to try to kick things off. First 5-minute bar is almost done. First 5 minutes looks like a freaking train wreck. Yeesh. 960 and 18. All right, Nasdaq catching a little bit of a pulse back down again, re-challenging that earlier area of interest. Ooh, okay. Bulls are a bit spicy. Picked it back up on the retest, but not any follow-through. S&P pressing down again. All right, a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of vindictive, choppy, sloppy. Not much going on. Nasdaq, whoa, the bears did not want a bull bar. Holy crap. Did you see that on the Nasdaq? That was a bull bar on its high for a second. Then they got whack-a-moled off the top. They're like, yeah, no thanks. Man, I'm freezing. I gotta get a little heater or something. Jeez. We got our first snow yesterday. Bulls starting to creep back in. We really did. It's the first snowman of the year. It was reported in Michigan. Dang it. S&P still churning to the downside. You have your trading flannel on? Yeah, man, I don't blame you. I got my long johns on underneath these jeans, but it's not doing enough. I need hander pants. The bulls tried getting a move going there on the Nasdaq, and now they're churning it back down with a really strong bear emphasis. If the bulls lose their ground here, sellers could possibly look for a bit more continuation down on a bear bar like that. Now, you know, again, we know that we're in a dip buy territory, so it's really hard for me to want to press the sell button, and this is exactly why. I mean, the first time the sellers have a halfway decent opportunity, they just got smacked. Jeans who wears pants, yeah. Well, you know, when you wake up and the house is like 55 degrees, it's there's not enough blankets. Like, whoops. The temperature fluctuates so crazy, it's nuts. It was snowing yesterday, and then it warmed up, melted all the snow, and then froze again, so we couldn't even open the car doors. This morning's they all froze shut. Look outside in a couple hours, and it's all grass again. Like, what? Bulls having extra continuation now on the Nasdaq, pulsing back up above the 960s. Unlikely that we get much of a pullback for the next couple candles, at least. Sub 70s? Okay. I didn't think they were going to get any pullback. Sub 70s, I'll take it for a scalp, thank you. I didn't think it was going to happen at all. Okay. Well, I only got the one. It's better than nothing, I guess, considering I wasn't even expecting it. What the heck was that? Wow, that was a really fast move that just happened on the Nasdaq. I didn't even... I looked away, and I looked back, and the candle was there. Interesting. See if they can get another dip sub 70s. Looks like they're trying to build a bit of a shelf of support down there. Not with a bear engulfing candle, though. It's like it's listening. Now, get out of that bush now, Murphy. What did I tell you? Quick little dip down to the lows here. Nice little pop back to the upside. Take that scalp back out. We're not in a swing territory yet. That's going to be a little bit lower down in the 60s. So I'm effectively just looking for quick little pulses in, out. Nice fast little bumps. Wow, what a jump higher. Continuation bulls may look for a little pulse underneath the 74s for a pop back up. Yep, there's that pop back up. Jeez, fast moves though. Holy crap. By the time you buy bid and then go to sell ask, it's already like 10 ticks away. It's like scalping on autopilot. Jeez. All right, they're building a little bit of congestion here. A deeper pullback down to challenge those 60s might be more worthwhile now. S&P is also catching a little bit of a move to the downside. As far as gold is concerned, yeah, they're still right around in the same spot there. Give or take a little bit. Ooh, Nasdaq. Wow, those Nasdaq bulls creeping right back up for the continuation higher. That's a really strong bull bar looking for the break above the top. There you go. Well, they didn't quite break the high, but they got the scalp. Can they break the high? Maybe not. Well, this is why I'm only scalping. Starting to get really hard to see with all these arrows. Little bit of a dip. That's a halfway decent bear bar. I don't know that I want to buy the next dip if there's one. Looks like a little algo trend line. You don't see those very often. Little algo trend line. Too perfect to not see. Once you know what to look for. First break of that algo trend line is usually bought back up, and there they go. There's the snap. Although I can't trade as fast as the algos, it's good to know at least what they're doing. They're still buying. Careful on this next dip. This might be the one that dips a little further than you expect it to. A lot of stops under those lows. If they can get a little flush down into like the low 60s, could be nice. Kind of a spike in channel right now in the faster time frame. Ooh, that bull bar. Okay. Something about to happen on the ES soon, you think, Steven? Yeah? I mean, there's a heck of a lot of pent-up energy right now, and the sellers are losing every fight they try to get going, at least so far in the Nasdaq. Oh, no. There's another one. $9:45 right around the corner. We've got news at 10 o'clock. FOMC later today. A lot of stuff going on. Nice little dip flush on that move. And the scalp back out. Nice little dip. Quick secondary dip underneath that last bull bar could allow the bulls back in. Just went bull engulfing and snapped down, though. Ooh, sellers getting a little feisty. Someone got snapped out, yeah. Gotcha. Let me take a look here. And thank you for giving me the heads up ahead of time. It actually got the target, huh? Oh, man. Jeez, oh, Pete's. Thank you for the screenshot. That's crazy. Bulls kicking back up again. Really strong bull bar is likely not going to have much of a pullback. I couldn't even get a fill on the bid. Awesome. No fill for me on the Nasdaq. Fantastic. Bear bar back down. I'm not interested anymore. I missed my opportunity. $9:45 news didn't really do a whole lot. 10 o'clock is next. Wow, that was a really fast snap down. Holy moly. Gold's getting close, 1765.5. Ooh, okay. Now, what are you trying to do here, Nasdaq? Long and ES at 1750. Okay, Ace, gotcha. You're looking for the long. Understood, El Capitano. I mean, I totally understand. It's just... I'm kind of with Steven on this one, man. I don't know. I'm having a tough time believing. I've tried to get a long going so many friggin' times, and it's like... I know if I skip the next one, it's going to go. Right? So... Little bit of a dip underneath that last low. The zone on gold looks really nice. Yeah, seriously. I just want a little bit more. Tezos breaking down to a new low. Ethereum breaking down to a new low. Oh, holy moly. That bull bar on the Nasdaq is freaking crazy. So one of two things happens here. This either becomes the trap and the sellers take it lower, or the sellers realize, oh no, they're on the wrong side of things and they're about to get absolutely thrashed. It looks like the sellers are trying to scramble. Yep. Sellers are scrambling. Nice little pulse for the sellers to re-out again. And out again. Remember, put yourself in the shoes of a stuck seller. Like, oh crap, I gotta get out. Give me a dip. Give me a dip. Just give me a dip. Let me out. Give me a dip. Please, just give me a dip. Let me out. Give me a dip. You can feel it, you know? That allows for a couple extra scalps inside there. A lot of volatility as expected. A lot of scalps as expected. The Nasdaq is definitely taking it home. Ooh, okay. Now this one right here, right? Little further. What's the most vindictive thing? Get underneath that small little swing in the 65s. What's the most vindictive thing? That little swing under the 65s. There's a lot of stops there. JP's hungry. How hungry? Can they get it? Oh, not yet. One tick higher low. Underneath those 65s is that little stop. Weak bull bar. Come on now. Come on now. You can do it. Uh-oh. 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 Oh, no! It couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was lying. Ruh-roh. So now put yourself in the shoes of a short who just saw that happen, like, oh, crap. All right, give me another dip. That's what they want. Give them that next dip, they'll pop it back out. See? When you know the underlying context, you know what to expect. Like, oh, crap! It's like, oh, no! Oh, get me out! Now, obviously, that works incredibly more beneficially when you're looking at scalping quick 5, 10, 15, 20 tick moves on the Nasdaq when the volatility's high. There's a certain time and place, you know. Look at all those wicks on the bottom of the Nasdaq. Oh, lordy. The Nasdaq sellers are really stuck right now. And they're not being given many chances. No new lows. All higher lows. Dude, really? On gold? Really? Bram. Where are you? Where? Don't you dare! No, wait a minute now. You pulled this on me last time. I thought you were joking. Front run me, but Unbelievable. Oh. Okay. Oh, my heart. Oh. Long in the ES at 1750. Yeah. Has it moved? No, it sure hasn't. Man. Oh, gold. Oh, man. You know how to put that salt in the wound, gold. Taking notes from the Nasdaq. Nasdaq not really breaking above the highs. Double top, disappointing response. This could lead to a much deeper pullback now. That could cause some issues. $10 o'clock right around the corner. Got about 7 minutes or so. We had a seriously low ADX in the Nasdaq. Is it? Yeah. I mean, look at the S&P too. It's like a barbed wire fence. It's gone nowhere. Like what would the ATR be right now? Like 2 points if you're lucky. It's just. Oh man, this is terrible. Yeah, maybe it's just news. FOMC later today isn't going to help either, but... Alright, I gotta say, disappointing response on the bulls. When the bulls are disappointed on the Nasdaq or any market, when they're disappointed, it's likely going to lead to a larger response in the opposite direction. Primarily because of the fact that it's like, oh, well, really? Like, that's it. After all of that struggle, that's all they were able to accomplish? A double top. Ooh, get the golf clap going, you know? Like, who cares? Great. Grass. Now, obviously, if scalpers are taking their targets ahead of that, that's why we front run those highs for the fact that double tops can happen. But it's a disappointing response. So if this starts breaking the lows, it hasn't yet, but if it starts breaking underneath the lows, these bulls aren't going to hang out. They're going to start taking their stops. They're going to start getting taken out, and we'll start seeing it sweep down to maybe the 960s. It hasn't broken a low yet, though. So barely, but the bulls are just holding on. S&P snaps back up, back to 18. Trying to get back above the 18 POC on the first 5. 9:55 hits. 5 minutes until news. Looking at Ethereum and Link and a few of the others, we've got a relatively healthy pullback going on. Whew, gold. Man, Bitcoin starts getting really interesting in the 61,470s or so. Ethereum, we're like the 4420s. Now, oh, now that bear bar on the Nasdaq, that's a little changing the guard here. Yikes, the bulls do not want that to hang out. They need to push back against that. FOMC's at 1400 Eastern, so whatever time zone that is for you, but it's at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, so Central will be 1 hour, so it'll be 1 p.m. More continuation to the downside on the Nasdaq. Now, this follow-through might be a little bit more extended than you would expect it to, because remember, we've got disappointed bulls. Bulls had a total failure to launch. Now we're starting to break underneath the lows, having some trouble. We also have 10 o'clock right around the corner, which means that it's going to be time to swap into the extended session for VIPs and members. So get those last questions in. We'll get those covered for you on this side of things, and we'll roll over into there. Yesterday was a pretty good day in the after session there. Fingers crossed we can get something to happen today. It's been a good scalping day, to be fair, but there you go, Ace. Get it. Got that pulse back to the upside, double top, lower high, lower high. The S&P is creeping back up towards the top and retesting the 620s. Settlement's a little bit further up around 21.5. Yeah, I hear you, Ace. It's one of those days if you're trading the S&P. Sheesh. Of course, if your luck is anything like mine, this is probably when it starts to go, right? As soon as I get out of the trade, man. But you know what? It's one of those things where it's like, man, I'd rather be out and wishing I was in than in wishing I was out. Been there, done that, and it really sucks when it's on the wrong end of that. Typically, when a trade doesn't work out right out of the gates or shortly after the opening of it, it's not going to be an easy one. News, yep, right around the corner. Thank you for the heads up. I appreciate it. We've got 30 seconds, well, about a minute and a half yet. It's going to be tough to want to take any trades with the news around the corner, knowing how pent up this is. Gold's going to give me a stroke at this point. It missed, man, by a fuzz and a half, the gold market missed that entry. Oh, that's fine. That's totally fine. That's fine. I told Murphy to get out of the bush. He didn't listen, but that's fine. Control the anger. Don't let the dark side control you. Obviously, I'm joking, but it being a little bit facetious, because we've been there before, right? If you do find that you have a situation where you have an order sitting there for 2 hours, and it misses your entry by 2 ticks, and then goes screaming off in your direction, and it would have been one of the best trades you've had the entire year. We've been there, done that, right? If you find that puts you on an emotional tilt, call it quits. It's not worth trading if you're on tilt. Your account is going to go on tilt if you trade on tilt, is what's going to happen. It's just not worth it. I joke about it because that's my coping mechanism. I've gotten used to the vindictiveness on the markets. I just kind of joke about it and go about business. But just understand there is a big psychological game that's going on there. We hit 10 o'clock. Gold does get a little bit of a slide down on the news, but outside of that, that's not really much else to be expected. As far as upside objectives, they're 1.5 miles out there, 82.2. This is going to be a minute. We'll see if it wants to swing up there. Crude oil's got inventories right around the corner. We'll see what it wants to do from there. And the index markets are looking like they're coming into a bit of bearishness as we go into the 10 o'clock session. We'll see. So final call for questions. We'll wrap that up. The gold market is hitting their swings to the upside, although, again, this is something that is on the lower probability side, looking for a much larger target back up. We're early to the party, catching the knife. Understand the risks, like we've been saying all morning. If you're waiting for excess confirmation, a lot of times the excess confirmation means that you're going to get a worse entry. So let's say, as an example, your zone is here, but waiting for excess confirmation means that you're waiting for a pattern or some repeatable thing that you can utilize to minimize your risk if you're not comfortable with the initial risk, as well as increase the probability in a pattern that you're comfortable with, right? Just because it's a zone of interest doesn't mean you have to slap the buy button straight away. Did move my target in one contract. Nice. It'll be with that last one. Make it work. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in for the morning, and yeah, that'll do it. So let's roll over into the extended session. We'll get that rocking and rolling. I've got the gold trade, which is probably going to be hanging out for a little while. It's got a monstrous target. It's assuming nothing else changes, then it's probably not going to do much else. Just let it go. But yeah. So, alrighty, folks. It's that time again. We're going to have to call it quits on the YouTube side of things, swap over into the, and transition over and finish off the day for VIPs and members. For those of you ducking out for the rest of the day, I hope you had an amazing day of trading. It was definitely a scalper's day, big time, but hopefully you had an amazing day of trading with me in the room. And if you have any questions that I may have missed, drop them in the comments below or shoot them to me via email, jhb@ssftg.com. For those of you hanging around with me in the midday session going into the extended, hang out with me and listen to me babble to myself for a minute. I hope you're ready to rock and roll. Let's transition over. For everyone else, thanks again, and we will see you all tomorrow, right? Have a good one. We'll talk to y'all then.